Here we go again. Let's put it into perspective. And I'd like to realize, no, let me reword that. I like to think that we have intelligent people in this country. People who actually challenge, people who actually challenge whatever it's said or broadcast over the ways of the idiot tube. And these compliant, conform, brainwash zombies, sheep, goats over the media in your terrorist regime, which you call a White House and Capitol Hill and Supreme Court and Congress, Senate, House of Representatives that don't even represent anything but represent criminals, historical criminals of racist, bigoted, sexist, capitalist, fascist, inhumane animals of death and genocide. So let's just clarify your history. Then you can understand your future. Then you can understand your present. Because simply what average people don't understand, and especially evangelical illiterates, ghetto fabulous monkeys, trailer park, heroin, crackhead monkeys, back alley, backwoods, piney rednecks, Appalachian Mountain illiterates, anybody who sits in a lifestyle that you're not engaged every day in reality, that you're not engaged every day in upward mobility, that you're not engaged every day in trying to better oneself, education, or as far as endeavors of a career or a better life than what your parents had. That's pretty much the premise of average people. And we can sit here and call names all day, and I've done it myself. But it's not going to get to a heart and a root of the problems that we face today. Now I'm talking about getting engaged. I'm talking about getting engaged into intelligent conversation, getting engaged in intelligent subjects, and getting engaged in trying to resolve the separation and the polarization of humanity. And this is done on purpose. What average people don't really understand, and they will never understand because they don't think. They're always told what to do, and they want to be told what to do. That's the whole thing. It's like these particular sect of people have no self-worth. And I always said in my life, if you want to know a person, you always go back to the roots. You always go back to where they were born, where they lived, where they pretty much grew up as a young child into a young man and woman, and to understand that the basic premise of life. And I've done much of that, especially when I was in college and I did a thesis on racism. And I went back and spoke to people who were in slavery. And then I went and talked to Native American Indians. And I don't talk about these things off the top of my head because I'm a type of person that I get engaged. I get to the root of the problems most people never will. I've talked with Ku Klux Klan, I've talked with skinheads, talked with neo Nazis, and people, when they weren't talking to me, probably hate my guts or hate the sight of me. but I didn't care because, like I always said and always will, I fear no man. The only one source in this world I fear is the Almighty God. Besides that, I won't be intimidated, and you won't fill my heart with fear of somebody who is flesh and blood and finite, limited, flawed flesh, just like me. And maybe you can call that arrogant and or call that whatever you want, but that is pretty much who I am and who I will always be. You'll never find peace. Excuse me. You'll never find peace. You'll never find a coexistence of unity, true brother sisterhood, people that love each other and want to pretty much share upward mobility and equality and equal rights and all the things that they lied about down through history. And in an environment that was founded on perpetrated blatant racism, bigotry, segregation, and hatred for people of color. Now, we can sit here all day long and dispute the word racism. And you look in your dictionary, and you can't be a racist unless you're in power. Like the Roman Empire and the Jewish people, which they enslaved, they were racist because they were in power. And they enslaved people by overpowering barbaric, heathenist mentality, brutality, to suppress a certain class of people, and they were Jewish. Now, I don't know what you did while you were in school or what subjects that you studied, but primarily in school you had math, English, and history. In some cases, you can do art and choir and all these other things, but prerequisites is math, English, history, which is the main problem in educating children today because you teach one side of history. You never teach real history. You never did, and you never will. Because if you taught true history, you would realize that you have no government. You would realize that your so-called founding forefathers were nothing but a bunch of terrorists, barbaric heathens, thieves, and pirates from the alleyways and gutters of Spain and England that were put on a bunch of ships by another terrorist pirate called Columbus, which you paint Columbus as some explorer, some crusader, which he wasn't. Just like you paint your Spanish armadas and your Spanish conquistadors, crusaders, as explorers, they weren't. Just like Columbus, they were nothing but a bunch of mercenaries and assassins sent for one purpose, and that is to steal, genocide, rape, pillage, massacre, and slaughter. And nobody likes addressing these facts, but these facts are the same facts that you're facing today in 2018. and the election that happened in 2016. So you can like try to elude or evade the issues all you want, but it always comes down to the fact that you are criminals. You are known historical criminals and pirates that neither Spain or England wanted because of a failing economy. And they weren't going to sacrifice their well-being of their self-preservation, delusional, mental ill mentality of this fake ass royalty position they put themselves in, and that's the kings and the queens. So they pretty much put the masses of the colonists and peasants, threw them on ships and sent them on a voyage and pretty much to nowhere. But they happened to land on the Americas. But somehow we want to paint this pretty picture of our so-called founding forefathers, like they were moral, ethical, honorable people. They weren't. Let's not lie to ourselves. They weren't. They were a bunch of barbarian heathens, bureaucrats, plutocrats, oligarchs, Zionists, capitalists, fascists, criminals. And that's the bittersweet of it all, that people will never face, people will never understand why you have or sit in the position that you sit in today, because that mentality has rooted itself in your White House, on your Capitol Hill, in your Supreme Court, in your Congress, in your House of Representatives, in your lawmakers, your legislators, criminals. You found something on a criminal mentality, it's going to remain a criminal organization. It's going to remain a criminal infrastructure. It's going to remain a criminal entity. And it's never going to change because you didn't base anything on morals. You didn't base anything on ethics, on honor, or this word that you throw up every single day as pretty much as sun rises, this whole BS of patriotism. There's no such thing as patriotism among thieves. It's like there's no such thing as loyalty among thieves. So how can there be patriotism without loyalty? And maybe somebody hasn't explained it to you in this way, or someone hasn't set you down and had an engaged in an intelligent conversation about what truly went on in these Americas. So, like always, you want to paint this innate pretty picture. You want to paint this whole honorable red, white, and blue, and justice for all garbage, because that's pretty much what they brainwash your minds with as little kids, and you grew up with this analogy or philosophy of America, red, white, and blue, the great. But they never told you the truth. You were never engaged in truth. You were always engaged in racist, bigoted, sexist, pathological lies. And that holds true even to today. I studied history. Not just American history, but I studied other history that average people were never told about the inventors of the cotton gin, of peanut butter, the first true heart transplant, the cotton gin, black economists, black doctors, Indian economists, Indian doctors that they will never tell you about. Indian heroes during this dumbass civil war between idiots of the Confederacy in North and South. See, there's two type of people. There are leaders and their followers. There will always be leaders and there will always be followers. People who follow. Because they're born that way. They're born, either you're born a leader or you're born a subservient. And sometimes you can be born a subservient and evolve into a leader because you educate yourself, because you find that strength within yourself to become a leader and not a sheep. The basic people in this country are sheep because they have taught you, they have brainwashed you that way. And that became quite apparent in the age of the idiot tube. And that was back in the day, even before my mom and dad. Somehow you and I don't know about anybody else, but somehow within your innate mind, unless it's a bunch of air between your ears or an endless black hole of innate ignorance and stupidity, that you challenge yourself, that you question, and you research and search for answers. You never stop educating yourself. You never stop trying to better yourself, to enhance your life through spirituality, social, or religiously. I don't know about anybody else, but I seek the unknown. Things that people tell me that it's impossible to accomplish, that it's impossible to achieve. It's like when I was coming up as a young man, when I worked during the civil rights movement. Everybody talked about a black man doesn't have a fair chance of getting ahead because you don't have equal rights or the equal opportunity. But I learned one thing on our farm in South Jersey: working hard, you can achieve anything, and it doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter your nationality or your origin. Working hard, you can accomplish anything in the most difficult of situations. And I've done that. Was it easy? No, but I've done that. In the midst the era of racial inequality, in the midst the era of segregation, oppression, suppression, the same pathological liars who so-called founded this country and didn't. They evaded it. I become successful. Not that I'm better, or more qualified than anybody else, is because in our family we're taught to strive, to better ourselves in every aspect of life. So that tells you one thing about anybody, and that's besides me, other people who have become successful. It's based on this, and it's based on this. It's based on the mind and heart. How much you really want to achieve those things that other people fail to because they deny themselves the education. They deny themselves the opportunity because they sit in that place of redundancy and complacency and make excuses or the pity party or the insecurity of no self-love, self-esteem, self-worth. So you can go ahead and make excuses all you want all day long. People have done it for decades and centuries, especially in your terrorist regime you call a government. They make excuses. And you have a percentage of the same colonist peasants, subservient sheep, zombies, goats, who accept it. And then there's a percentage that don't. There's a percentage that challenges. There's a percentage that says, no, I'm not going to accept your pathological lies. I'm not going to accept your criminality. I'm not going to accept the mentality of your uncivilized, barbaric, heathenist philosophy and agenda of invasion, of death and genocide. I'm going to challenge you. And for those people, life is better. For those people, life is, you're engaged. You seek to be educated. You seek to be enlightened. You seek to be informed. You don't accept the norm. You challenge. And that's why you have a certain sector of this society that does revolt. You have a certain sector of this society that questions, while we have whistleblowers, because those that search the truth and doesn't accept the historical, pathological, racist, bigoted, sexist lies that you shove down the brainwashed sheep, zombies, and goats. And they are the people that the bureaucrats, plutocrats, Zionist zealots, religious zealots, aristocratic terrorist regime fears the most. So you tell yourself, your history is filled of warmongering, murderers, barbaric heathens, bunch of pirates and thieves, like Spain and England, who went to war against themselves. See, this is the oxymoron part. This is the idiotic mentality of mankind. And it's just not the idiots in America, it's the idiots of the world. You come to a country, a peaceful people, people willing to help bring you into their native camps, educate you, feed you, show you how to hunt, and you want to talk about some lie about bringing civilization. No, you didn't bring civilization. That's the biggest pathological lie that was ever told. in American history. You didn't bring civilization. You brought immorality. You brought unethics. You brought criminality. You created an infrastructure based on theft and genocide, massacre and slaughter, and raping of children and women, slaughtering children and women, slaughtering men who engage you to protect their homes, just as your mercenaries and terrorists and assassins you call police, who pretty much do the same thing in the communities of Black America. Same. Why you have to equate this as inbreeding and breeding of a subspecies, a subculture of humanity, which no one wants to face. No one wants to face the truth. No one wants to hear the truth because the truth hurts. And as the Bible says, it cuts like a two-edged sword, and it rightly divides truth from a lie. And I went to that school, and I challenged my teachers. I got thrown out of class because I said certain things that teacher didn't want to hear, like George Washington ought to be called the father of the country, because he had slave illegitimate children, which pretty much it is the truth. Why within a certain race of Black people, there's a lot of the last names of Washington. But if you go back into their history, pretty much is where they came from. A lot of Black folks called Jefferson. Black folks called Lincoln. Which it's indicative of what I call inept ignorance and stupidity, is because you talk about a constitution, you talk about civil rights. It's the most asinine, stupid pieces of wasted paper you could ever talk about. And this so-called flag of yours that you call the red, white, and blue, or any flag from any country that committed theft and genocide and massacre and slaughter of humanity. You can't fly a flag. You can fly it. Pirates fly a flag. But is it honorable? No. It's a flag of thieves and pirates and criminals. Pretty much what your red, white, and blue flag stands for. It doesn't stand for honor. And you say, well, I go to war against other people of color, and say it's because I protect my country. Define that. What do you protect? You protect true justice? In a country where you enslave people? In a country where women don't have rights? Their property? In a country that you kill, slaughter innocent men, women, and children? You take their resources, rich mineral resources, you put them on reservations of poverty, alcoholism, drug addiction. You call this equality? You call this freedom? You call this justice for all? It's self-explanatory. It's a lie. It's a pathological historical lie. There's no such thing as equality in a stolen country. There's no such thing as laws in a stolen country. No such thing as civil rights in a stolen country. These are things that we often take for granted. We often say it, but we don't research it. We never understand the truth. If you walk into a person's house and they welcome you in, set you down at their dinner table, feed you, clothe you, give you a place to sleep, teach you, and those same people you turn around and you slaughter or you massacre. And not only do you slaughter and massacre them, you massacre all their family members. And you take their bank account, you take their investments, you take all the wealth that they have possessed through hard work, and you call it yours. Is that justice? Is that honor? And these are the things nobody tells you. These are the things that your media, monkeys, zombies, sheep, will sit there every day telling you the same redundant garbage, propaganda, same brain dead agenda of the idiot tube. And then you sit there and just swallow it verbatim. And you think it's the truth. Because you never question. And that's just not society or your political hypocrisy or your religious hypocrisy. That's everything. You never accept what a person tells you. You accept what a person shows you. And many times in my life, people didn't like me because I was not a follower. I was never conformed. I was never compliant. I was never brainwashed. And that is what people find more fearful than anything in this fake ass white society of a terrorist regime that you don't follow, that you're not compliant, that you can't be conformed into a mindless following sheep, goat, zombie, lab rat that they can manipulate and deceive with historical racist, fascist, capitalistic, pathological, sexist lies. And these same terrorists bridge a gap between races bring a gap between gender, bring a gap between religious beliefs. The same idiotic philosophy of any warmonger, of any barbaric, heathens. Genghis Khan, Roman Empire, Egyptian Empire, Napoleon, Britain, France, Italy, any empire. Divide and conquer. The greatest thing that you can ever do in any part of humanity is divide people. Divide them on the base of race, divide them on the base of religion, divide them on the base of political views, divide them on the sense of gender. You divide. And when you divide, you weaken. My dad was a carpenter and mason. The very foundation of any house is the foundation that it sits on. If you lay concrete without any reinforcement rods, it cracks, it divides. Build a pillar without any reinforcement rods, it cracks, it dissolves in time. And the infrastructure that you build on comes down. And it's the basics with humanity. Let's get engaged. Let's get engaged in truth. That if you divide the foundation of humanity, it falls. And that's what has been done down through history. One doesn't have to be a genius to understand that. One doesn't have to be a historical expert to understand it. Divide and conquer has been used all through the world. To conquer countries. The reason why I'm trying to get to the root of the inept ignorance and stupidity of this country is because that I find it hard to perceive, I find it hard to accept or embrace that a so-called civilized society can be so gullible and naive. And the reason why I say this is because you listen to the same garbage, you listen to the same hypocrisy, you listen to the same pathological liars, you listen to the same agenda, political exploits, political propaganda, agenda, platforms they stand on for decades and centuries. And yet in 2018, they're telling you people the same innate things. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And that's scary. Because if you have children, and if you love your children, like any normal mother and father would, you would be concerned. How is it that it's so apparently not important to you, or doesn't scare you that your children can't go to school without the threat of a terrorist attack. And this is not from some Muslim. This is not from some black man. This is not from some Native American Indian. This is from the same people that rule you, which is white man society with guns that goes in and slaughters your children, goes into your nightclubs, goes into your movie theaters, goes into their jobs, on the streets, run you down with cars. What you call neo-Nazis, white supremacists, Hitler monkeys, alt-right. Call it any name you want to call it. It's the same terrorist regime that invaded this country, massacred, slaughtered, and genocide the race of innocent people of color. Same people, same agenda. 2018. And you ask yourself, has it changed? Has it really changed? The peripheral, the outsources, not the internal, has changed. Because you don't ride on horses anymore. You ride in trucks and cars. You don't ride around with crosses anymore. You use different symbols. Same cowards. Same gutless, barbaric heathens. That genocide an innocent race of Native Americans. Stole their land, rich mineral resources, and call it theirs. Same thing. What's the difference? Whether you call it an Iraq war, whether you call it Afghanistan, whether you call it Africa or Haiti, whether you call it China or Japan or Korea, people of color. The war on people of color. Anybody different than you. Hitler hated Jews. Like dumbass Confederates hated Union. Redneck against redneck. Oxymoron. Inept ignorance and stupidity. You hate yourselves. That's the innate epitome of a moron, of barbaric heathens. You hate yourselves and you hate everything else around you. Because if you didn't hate yourself, you would preserve yourselves. This whole philosophy and an analogy of white power, white supremacy. Then why would you kill the very thing that you promote? You kill each other. Somebody explain that to me. If that's not a barbaric heathen, that you get on agenda or platform of white supremacy, but you engaged in killing and massacring, slaughtering yourselves. Why couldn't you get along in your stolen country? These are the things that I question. If you're so superior, how come you couldn't get along? You stole the country from people of color. Native American Indians, took everything that was theirs and called it yours. And it still wasn't enough. Your explorers, your crusaders, went to war with each other. Oxymoronism of barbaric heathens. Because if you were human species of intelligence, of civilized, moral, honorable, ethical people, you coexist peacefully without killing each other. And we can go back and find out the reason why, but we're not doing that this segment. And you can understand the philosophy of this moron in the White House and Capitol Hill now. The same morons, the same barbaric heathens, racist, bigoted, sexist, immoral, unethical, no honor, no heart, no soul, capitalists, fascists, Zionists, zealots, bureaucrats, plutocrats, oligarchs of self-preservation, telling the same sheep, goats, zombies, same thing they've been telling for decades and centuries, and they still don't get it. And they think that voting, you got to vote. You got to get out and vote. And you call Democrats and Republicans democracy versus a republic. Never was a republic. Never was democracy. Terrorist oligarchy is what you live in. And historical ignorance and inept stupidity accepts that every single day. Why you have a criminal since 1987 has extorted, stole, deceived, manipulated banks, creditors, in every facet of his empire that he so-called built. He didn't build it. Russian mafia built it. His daddy was a criminal. His daddy was a criminal. His brother was a criminal. His grandfather was a criminal. So from criminal, barbaric, heathenist filth, what do you get? Criminals. And that's the truth of it. Criminals breed criminals. Go back and study your history, true history. Criminals breed criminals. Your so-called forefathers were criminals. They bred more criminals. Those criminals bred more criminals. A continuous cycle of historical, racist, bigoted, sexist, immoral, barbaric, heathen criminals. And this is what epitomizes your White House and your Capitol Hill and your Congress and your Supreme Court and your lawmakers and your House of Representatives and your flag and your Constitution and your so-called civil rights of wasted paper written by criminals. And until you equate that into this empty dome that you call a brain, the cycle continues, and they know it. It continues. That's why you didn't elect shit. Reason why they appointed a criminal over you. They appointed criminals over you for decades and centuries and called them presidents. I don't care if it's a black man. I don't care if it's a white woman. I don't care if it's a Chinese man. I don't care if it's a Spanish man. And I don't care if it was a Native American Indian. Criminals breed criminals. And it hasn't changed for decades and centuries. The fact that you believe you live in a country, you don't. You live in a corporation. Because your so-called stolen America was dissolved back in 1871 when you gave it to the Rothschild family central bank cartel. More ignorance, more inept stupidity of colonists, peasant sheep from the alleyways and gutters of Spain and England. Hard facts. Kind of turns your stomach, doesn't it? Kind of makes you hate anybody that said stuff like that. And it ain't true, it's a lie. Because you inept, subservient monkeys accepted a lie for decades and centuries. That's why it hasn't changed. And that's why it never will change. Because you love being sheep. As long as I sit in my community, my manicured lawns, my gated community, my fat bank account, my BMW, my Mercedes parked out. They ain't parked out in my garage. They parked in my garage. Got a swimming pool. My kids are happy. Send them to Ivy League schools. Pay as less taxes as I can. I'm happy. And then you got redneck America. As long as I can drink my Budweiser, shoot up my heroin, my marijuana, I got my pickup truck, my gun rack in the back, my hound dog, my trailer on my double wide, my welfare check, I'm happy. Black America. As long as I'm still a slave for Mazda, I can eat Mazda's cheese, collect Mazda's welfare check, my ghetto high rise, my ghetto fabulous, my philosophy where I live, pimps, bitches, and hoes, and niggas. Niggas. We gangster niggas. Pushing our drugs on our own people. Killing our own people. Uneducating our own people. Drive my Mercedes, my BMW. Sell my crack cocaine, my marijuana. Tell you my rap music about the ghetto, gutter, and swamps that I live in. Tell you about my life, how hard it is here with no expectation or endeavors to get out, because I love it here. Love to be exploited by the white man. You look at me as being an animal, and that's what I show them. I'm a black animal. I'm a gangster. I'm a thug. Divide and conquer. That's what they do to you. And then you have gated community in America. Then you have your politicians, terrorists, barbaric heathens with suits and ties, respectability, investments on Wall Street, Cayman Island accounts. I work on Wall Street. I work at the Federal Reserve. I'm the lawmaker. I'm the legislator. I'm the judge. I'm the ruling class. A bureaucrat, plutocrat, white collar criminals. This subspecies in Trailer Park America, in Ghetto America, you look up to. Because I'm the one that's going to give you your freedom, although I'm your slave master. I waste billions upon billions of your tax dollars that I take out of your paycheck every week. That doesn't keep up with inflation or the cost of living. That constant cycle of equality that I taught you to live in, like lab rats, like rats in a warehouse, like dogs in an alleyway, searching for something to eat. And it's never enough, because I made sure that it was never enough. I made sure that I kept you in debt with the latest cell phone, clothes, cars, houses, make you house poor, make you car poor, keep you slaves in a white society of inequality. As we sit at our banquets and we laugh at you, subservience, that we taught and brainwashed to be exactly what you are, tax slaves. And we make up a lie to tell you every election year that we care about you, that you mean so much to us. You are our commodity that keeps us extremely wealthy. We send your sons and daughters to die in our wars for profit, and we send them back home to put a bullet in their head because they can't take it anymore, killing innocent people for a lie, for a red, white, and blue lie, for a constitutional lie, for a civil rights lie. And for decades and centuries, still haven't learned a thing. And you send some orange faced, powdered, white eyed, McDonald eating, adolescent tweeting, Scottish traitorous, treasonous piece of shit as your leader. The very scum of society that crawled with every criminal rat, parasite in society to gain wealth, even sold his country to gain wealth to a Russian mafia oligarch called Putin. Same that you always done. Sold America to another oligarch with his Rothschild, central bank. You're forever selling your soul. The Babylon whore called America. Forever selling herself. Never changed. Never will. Till you tell me a criminal hiding behind pathological lies. Why you can fire Comey. Why you can hire Russian mafia oligarch Manafort, Gates, Cohen, all these parasites, criminals that wear suits and ties. Why a misogynist, xenophobic pervert in love with his own daughter with a porn star model communist wife. Criminals for sons who money launder, fake child charity, fundraising, funneling money through the Russian mafia. House a Russian mafia cartel in his Trump Tower. $1,300 times laundering dirty money into clean money through his real estate fraud, real estate enterprise, Trump Enterprise. And you allow him into the White House to dismantle everything that you ever spoke of as fake ass democracy. Land of the free and justice for all. See, what I put on Facebook, inept, ignorant stupidity. And once you're done looking at this video, you know why. No, it ain't no sexting gaze, pretty puppy, baby face video to make you sit there and give you $1 million hits, million-time hits. No, it's about truth. Truth don't get hits. Truth pisses people off because it makes you think. It makes you look at yourself in the mirror and you're disgusted with what you see. That's what truth does. And that's what I do. I make you think. Make you lie to yourself and telling yourself it ain't true. But down deep in that gut, you know it is. In your so-called intelligence community, put your tail between your legs like a Sooner dog and you run from a Russian mafia debt whore. Enemies, foreign or domestic, we fight against to protect the sovereignty of America. Really? Really? I think you better look at your Trump terrorist regime that you got in the White House and on Capitol Hill right now. And the thing of it is, He makes all of you look like fools because he attacks all of you and you do nothing. You sit there and you take it like a little bitch, like a little heartless, spineless, gutless bitch. It's like your pansy J. Edgar Hoover, a man who wanted to be a woman, and that's the head of your FBI. Here, CIA, young kid evaded your rabbit hole, exploited you, exposed you for what you were. And that's why you ain't worth shit right now with Donald Trump. NSA, same thing. MI5, MI6, Naval, Army, Marine intelligence. Treat you all like shit. And you accept it. You take it like a $2 whore. And you do nothing. You hide behind Mueller investigation. And your justice system and your black robe cartels that you call judges, bribed and paid for by Russian mafia money now, like you're bribed and paid for by mafia money in the past. Tell me who lies. Tell me who deceives. Tell me who hides and cover up the truth for decades and centuries. And now, one Scottish piece of shit bought and sold by Russia exploited you all. And now you do nothing. You do nothing. You just allow it to happen. Let it carry on every day. 24/7, 365. And he hides behind your criminal laws. Because criminals, that's what criminals do. They hide behind criminal laws. If a black man did the crimes this man has done, where do you think he'd be right now? CIA, FBI, NSA, MI5, MI6. Since 1987, he's done this. And you did what? But you then multitude of hundreds of black men in prison who've done less. Tell me. Is this America, the greatest country in the world? I'm done.